If you thought that having a hidden village was something exclusive to characters like the frog with a scarf tongue or the tattooed toad, let me tell you no. The green frog with the name of a dinosaur had one too, although I don't know if it was as epic as the other two. So today we are going to see the story of when Bulbasaur stood up to his entire family and remained true to his convictions. Starting the episode, Ash is challenged by a man to a fight. Each one takes out his Pokemon, being Bulbasaur our protagonist's choice, while his rival sends his Rhyhorn. The ground type begins to run, generating a tremor in its wake, which scares our protagonists and makes Misty realize that the Pokemon is at a high level. As a good fearful trainer, Ash doesn't care about the double type advantage and thinks it's better to retire his Pokemon. But Bulbasaur pulls up its pants and decides to continue with the battle, so the protagonist trusts him and they face the Rhyhorn, managing to defeat it with a combo of Razor Leaf and a couple of blows. But after this difficult confrontation, Bulbasaur is exhausted, and for a reason unknown to us his bulb begins to glow. Then Ash and the others take the grass type to a rustic-style Pokemon Center in the middle of the forest, where Nurse Joy suspects something, so she decides to do a study on the Pokemon, discovering that it is at the right time to evolve. Since it is the time of the year when all the Bulbasaur in the world gather to evolve in a mysterious garden, which no human can enter and whose location is not even known. Everyone is happy that Bulbasaur is going to evolve except the Toad himself, who overhears the conversation and acts a little reluctant at the news. So to brighten the moment, Joy has the boys look out the window, managing to see how the pollen from the flowers travels through the air, indicating that the season she was talking about had already begun, in addition to giving an explanation to all this, saying that it has to do with the alignment of the planets and the phases of the moon, and that this strange time does not always happen on the same dates. During the night, Pikachu was sleeping peacefully in his bed until he sees Bulbasaur come out alone, so he follows him and they have a talk in Pokemon language, in which we assume they talk about what happened, and about how this new stage would affect our beloved Toad, who would probably stop being so loved by the fans of the series. But there's no time to think about that anymore, because a group of wild Bulbasaur forcibly take Ash's Pokemon away, leaving Pikachu behind and worried about his friend. Meanwhile, we see Team Rocket that is walking through the forest until they come across the Bulbasaur herd and try to catch them, but with a simple attack of their whips they send them flying and continue taking Ash's frog. So after this brief interruption, we return to the protagonists. Seeing that Pikachu went to tell them about what happened to Bulbasaur, he quickly guides them through the forest following the trail of flowers, but some vines try to block their path to prevent them from reaching the mysterious garden, having to make a long jump passing through them before they close, being completely trapped inside the forest by a wall of branches. In this way they manage to reach where all the Bulbasaur are and see how the giant tree located in the center begins to bloom, filling with red leaves and giving way to the appearance of the leader of them all, a Venusaur who, according to the protagonists, is bigger than normal. Now it is time to begin the ceremony, in which the little Bulbasaur along with their leaders start to scream euphorically, causing their evolutions to begin, except for one small problem. The guys see how Ash's Pokemon is trying to contain its evolution, something that the other Pokemon also notice and do not take kindly. So the Venusaur fulfills its role as the mafia boss and decides to attack Ash's Bulbasaur, but he runs to protect his Pokemon, making a reference to the Spearow moment, stopping the Venusaur from hitting the green frog and telling them that if his Pokemon doesn't want to evolve they can't force it. But before a war between humans and Pokemon begins, Team Rocket appears again and starts to suck up all the Pokemon, and as if it were a fairy tale the sun appears, being the perfect moment for Bulbasaur to acquire a power-up, managing to learn the move Solar Beam and now defeating the villain team, sending them flying once and for all with the help of the other Pokemon, who finally accept Bulbasaur for who he is, saying goodbye to everyone from the herd who are now new friends, but we will never see them again.